The great Steven Spielberg said, quote, "All of us, every single year, we are a different person. I do not think we are the same person in all our lives." So he knows a thing or two about people and acting and entertainment and drama, because it's certainly been a dramatic year, 2020. So let's check out how we can celebrate 2020 New Year's Eve going into 21, do it safely, and how all the different cities in the world are doing it. So first off, checking out what is happening all around the world before we figure out what we can do ourselves and trying to enjoy it all. In Australia, Australian officials have actually banned people from gathering near to Sydney Harbour. And of course, Sydney Harbour Bridge is a famous place where you often see, in the westernised world as such, the first New Year's Eve fireworks annually. This particular event has had, to change, and now people are only able to invite up to 10 friends and family to their homes to celebrate as well. So doctors have warned there that although obviously New Year's Eve is going ahead, that people have to be very, very careful, because infections had just gone up before the Christmas of this year, 2020. So it's very important that Australians, as well as us all, are very careful. What happens in Auckland then, New Zealand? New Zealand is pushing ahead with its traditional celebrations, believe it or not, at the Sky Tower and Harbour Bridge landmarks. The mayor, that is of Auckland, Bill Goff, said that they're kind of lucky, quote unquote. "We're in a fortunate position of being able to live our lives relatively normally," he said. "People can go to work and school, gather with friends, and our economy is one of the most open in the world," he said. "That's worth celebrating, and this year's spectacular display will be a perfect opportunity for us all." So this is what he reckons. So what about Tokyo then? Tokyo, well, due to rising cases in Tokyo, they've had to cancel and call off all their city's big countdown parties, concerts and other seasonal type gatherings. They've even had to cancel and say, "No way, Jose," to the Shibuya Scramble Crossing party. So that's black and white, absolutely closed. And while of Hong Kong, well, of course, Hong Kong, as you can see from the picture, has had protesters holding rallies, and this was only in the last year or so, and these rallies got out of total hand. And these were pro-democracy protesters that wanted a better life, a better way of choosing and choice for themselves. But of course there was problems on the streets, and this was just really kicking off before 2020. And so they are very, very careful in Hong Kong to have called off more or less everything. Last year they had a countdown fireworks. This was the 2020 Lunar New Year Parade, and even that was held in a very much laid back or more so diminished format because of these particular protests. And so they're really, really, really careful this year that they've got to be super careful because of the forthcoming wave. Then staying in the Asian hub of the world, we're looking at Singapore, and it's the Asian Islands nation's flagship display in the shadow of Marina Bay Resort will not be happening. This sounds like a really negative video, sounds like a really negative recording, but the truth is there's so much gatherings all around the world that are not happening. And of course then it begs the question, what about my own gathering? What about my own friends and family and people and so on? But in Singapore, it's just too small of an area, so they're thinking about this whole kind of catch-22, pardon the pun, but catching the particular virus. So there's no big thing going on, no big party as such. In the People's Association, or the PA, they said fireworks display will take place though in Housing Board. This is a housing association of sorts, areas, and will be live streamed. Imagine live stream in 2020, and it's happening again. So they'll have them on their community Facebook pages. Imagine that, Facebook, 2020, and social media. What a year. Over to Thailand next, and well, New Year's Eve is going to be cancelled. Again, the events and the mass gatherings are cancelled in Bangkok, the main city there. And the countdown parties, finito, gone, not this year. So it's been confirmed that a fireworks showcase hosted by luxury hotels and a shopping centre along the Chayo Pereira River will continue though. So there's one thing going on. Let's all go to Bangkok. Let's all get on a plane and go over there. No, we can't do that. That would be unsafe. So we have to be very careful of Bangkok and all that's happening there. Dubai next. Usually in Dubai there's a huge New Year's Eve get together and a big gathering. But this, they say, will be the same, believe it or not, in 2020. But with strict social distancing. So again, Dubai, the fancy place that it is, the wonderful place to go to. I wonder if we can all just grab a little bit of a break there in 2021, perhaps. Maybe they might actually treat us all, because that is being very proactive. So we'll have to watch that in the early days of January 2021. Will Dubai have adverse reactions to the virus? Will they actually have a greater amount of people getting ill or sick because of the virus? And we'll just have to wait and see, because Dubai are doing something slightly different. Moscow next in Russia, and they are going to restrict things and stop things and make sure that the virus stays where it is. They will not hold their traditional New Year's celebration, New Year's Eve celebration that is. They've suspended all mass gatherings and ordered late night establishments to close, believe it or not, until mid-January 2021, which is going to make Moscow a pretty bleak place, you would imagine, in 2021, early 2021, first couple of weeks. But that's the way this virus is just flying around the world. It's just incredible, really. What of Paris, the love city of the world? Maybe there's love going to happen on New Year's Eve, but under an 8 p.m. curfew, maybe not, because that's what's happening in Paris. And that's throughout the whole holiday season there, really. And the composer and performer Jean-Michel Jarre Avatar will play a set from inside a virtual Notre Dame Cathedral, all the while he himself performs it live at a nearby studio in the city. And then the public can watch. Where? Online. And this is why we're giving this kind of rundown online, because this is all we can do right now. So Paris, the city of love, is failing to ignite a spark of love and life in late 2020. What about the Germans? The Germans are always very efficient, aren't they? So in Berlin, the Berlin Senate has introduced a fireworks and firecracker ban, very strict, for New Year's Eve in 54 areas of the city. Even staying in those areas will be forbidden as of the 31st of December and of course the 1st of January. London, baby, as they say in Austin Powers. Surely there's going to be a bit more civilization, considering the Brits have exited Europe. Yes, that's where I was going to, but I can't go anywhere because the Brits have definitely exited. And in exiting, they've actually stopped their fireworks display as well for the 2020 celebration over the Thames that they usually have every year. And this is always around the London Eye, the famous London Eye. And this was cancelled as well back in September. No other public gatherings that they're going to have of note. They have joined the strictest of restrictions. Of course, there's a different strain of the virus that has come about in Britain, so they have to be really, really careful. And many millions of people can only gather outside even a couple of days before New Year's Eve on Boxing Day or St. Stephen's Day. And it's just incredible what's happening there too. Nearly everyone in Scotland and Northern Ireland will also be subject to the highest level of restrictions after Christmas, which means large gatherings, even outside, will be banned. Back to Scotland, the great, of course, Sean Connery died from Scotland earlier on this year, the guy that was James Bond. And in Edinburgh, for the first time in its history, imagine, Scotland's flagship Hogmanay event is moving online. Something is moving. Is the virus moving? Hopefully not. But it's definitely going to be online, where it will be headed by actor David Tennant. Down to South America now, and the beautiful people of Rio de Janeiro. The Brazilian people are going to be hit hardest, it says, because they have been one of the places in the world that have really been hit hard with Covid-19 infections. And right now, looking at 2020, New Year's Eve, it's going to be pretty bleak of an outcome for them. So their New Year's Eve fireworks has been cancelled completely and utterly. Kaput, gone. Kaput, bye. Surely New York Times Square will have the city that never sleeps, but the reality is no. The Times Square ball drop is one of the most iconic New Year's Eve events, but the ball will still be dropping this year. Yes! We have somewhere to definitely celebrate or look at on television. But the party, which usually sees hundreds of thousands cramming the famous LED lit intersection, will be for an extremely limited, in inverted commas, group of socially distanced in-person honorees. Ooh, you're honoured to be able to go there. Sure, are honoured. Or maybe not, maybe it's punishment. After all, if there's this virus flying around, why would you want to go there in the first place? Everyone else will need to tune in virtually and watch on television. They are the sensible ones, I think. And the performance of singer Gloria Gaynor will be fittingly perfect for her survival mode when she sings her fantastic hit, I Will Survive, and we will all survive. Los Angeles in America. Los Angeles is LA's Grand Park. Well, this year, 2020, on New Year's Eve, stage a pandemic edition of the New Year's Eve party with a 90-minute streaming celebration of music. Streaming, online. With about 1 in 95 LA county are contagious, and public health officials have warned conventional New Year get-togethers would create a viral wildfire. That is just incredible. That is how bad it is over in LA. If you want to get your money out and you want to go to Vegas, then Las Vegas, the fireworks display over Vegas' most famous strip, is cancelled this year. Cancel. There's all these bad cancellations. Kuala Lumpur is under the conditional movement control order, bidding farewell to 2020 and welcoming the new year will be a much subdued affair. Maybe we should all go lastly to Taipei, because they're going to have a big firework display, and we'll go ahead with masks mandated for attendees now. Best of luck with that. Best of luck with trying to just police people on New Year's Eve in one major city of the world. So the New York Times is thinking, do things virtually. That's the main thing. Do things virtual. And it says, along with so many things, the pandemic has dashed many go-routers of New Year's Eve and the traditions. No raging clubs, for example. No in-person ball drop. No kissing strangers as if at midnight, or even the annual party. But you can still watch the ball drop. This is what they're saying. Here the crystal ball will still drop from the one Times Square. The confetti will fall and the old Lang Sing will still play.